What's the point of getting airline status when the key benefit is lounge access and you can just pay for that? Well, is that a fair point? Are paid lounges any good? Are airlines' own lounges just better? Well, let's explore that today as we journey around the world to some of the paid and oneworld lounges that I've visited. Hi, I'm Phil and I'm on a grey gap year. Let's start with the capital of Scotland, Edinburgh, and when I visited here there were 2 Aspire lounges, one of which was newly opened, so I started there.
I'm BA Business today, so I've got access to the BA Business Class Lounge, but I thought I'd try out the Aspire Lounge. I don't know if I'll be coming back to Edinburgh anytime soon, so I thought I'd give it a go, use the priority pass. But it's full. Apparently the thing to do is you've got to book in advance, otherwise they get full. People don't leave when they think they're going to leave, and there's no access.
So I headed off to the other Aspire Lounge at the other end of the airport. It's next to the British Airways Lounge near Gate 4. And they had a nice selection of hot food, a something for everyone kind of selection, a pancake maker too, which is always good, some salads and just piles of cheddar and Stilton. But the bar didn't stock port to go with my Stilton, but they did stock a nice single malt whiskey. The bar was staffed, but the staff member had stepped away briefly while I was filming the station. The lounge was busy due to lots of delays, so I didn't poke my camera around the main part of the lounge too much, but it is a nice, comfortable lounge. Next door is the BA Business Lounge, and you can access this if you're BA Silver or above and flying with any oneworld airline. And this lounge is much larger than the Aspire Lounge, and although it was busy on my second visit, my first time here it was quiet and I got to have a good look around. There are a few separated areas with tables to eat and work at, some dreaded tall bar stools with separate coffee stations. These relaxing armchairs and sofas have gorgeous views of the car park, and there's a much quieter work area too. The self-serve food and bar area was spacious, but the food on offer on this visit was just soup and sandwiches with some cheese and biscuits and snacks. And I don't think the food gets much better than this. I've read that sometimes there's a curry and some pies, but that seems to be about it. The self-pour bar is good though, and look, 6 grapes port. Unfortunately, no Stilton. But the drink selection is good with a Singleton single malt whiskey, a Ciroc vodka and other premium wines and spirits. There are more snacks in jars and there's soft drinks and beers in the fridge below. I don't think there's much in it. The BA Lounge is a nicer space and I prefer the self-pour bar in the BA Lounge. Although the food was uninspired in both lounges, there was good hot food in the Aspire Lounge and a pancake maker. So the Aspire Lounge edges the food offering. So if you're flying from Edinburgh, will status get you a superior lounge? No, I don't think it does. So you could just pay for a lounge here, provided you can get in. I was flying from Gatwick South Terminal and I stepped into the number 1 lounge. It was very early, so the lounge was quiet, but even so, there was a good English breakfast on the buffet ready to go, as well as a continental selection. This lounge is a decent size, it's nice when it's quiet, but the coffee was really disappointing. It just wasn't very strong. The bar isn't self-pour, I guess they're just not in paid lounges, but the bar was staffed, so if I'd wanted to start the day with a vodka tonic, I could have done. Upstairs is the British Airways Club Lounge, and it's for business passengers and those with silver or sapphire status. It's a large lounge, it's broken up into lots of smaller areas in quite inventive ways, like these wine cabinets. There's separate areas for working, for eating, for lounging and for children. And there's a mezzanine floor which was unfortunately closed during my visit. I was there at breakfast time, and although it wasn't really a full English breakfast on the buffet, there were lots of options, and I did make a delicious sausage and egg muffin sandwich. Lots of self-pour alcohol as well as fruit juices and bean-to-cup coffee machines. It's a great lounge. There's lots of space, lots of seating options, good food, good drink, and this was my first business lounge, and it's probably stayed my favourite business lounge so far. And so the British Airways Club Lounge beats the number 1 lounge hands down and by a country mile. So the score at half time is 1-1. The paid lounge I went to in Frankfurt was the Prime Class Lounge, and it was a good experience. I was warmly welcomed into a smallish lounge with seating for, I guess, about 60. It was very quiet when I was there, but I imagine it would be noisy and claustrophobic if it was even sort of half to 3/4 capacity. There is a small TV room where the TV was muted, and there was an unattended bar, and I couldn't be sure if the bar was paid or included or even self-pour, but I suspect it was a paid bar. I was driving at the other end of my flight, so I didn't miss out on anything. The hot food was good and tasty, although it was in need of some sauce, with the cabbage salad being the surprise triumph. It was crisp and it had a sweet and sour, almost sort of a sweet pickle taste. It was really nice. So a long walk from one side of the terminal to the other to try out the Japan Airlines Sakura Lounge. And although I'm BA Gold or One World Emerald, I was directed into the Sapphire or the Business Lounge. And it's a nice space, probably on par or just edging the Prime Class Lounge from size and layout point of view. The lounge is broken up with some tasteful and some not so tasteful partitions, which created sort of smaller separate seating areas. The food was probably better here too, although it was ordered from a menu at the counter rather than being on a self-serve buffet. And after eating my main course earlier in the other lounge, I had one of my favourite desserts here, a panna cotta, which was very good. If I'd been hungrier, I would have gone for the pesto pasta, which is another dish I really enjoy. There was a self-pour bar with a variety of spirits. If I hadn't been driving, I would have poured myself a Grey Goose vodka with Fever Tree tonic for sure. I'm less sure about the Dewar's White Label Scotch. Someone's going to have to let me know if that's premium or not. Ditto with the Bombay Gin. So what's the verdict here? Although I think the Sakura Lounge is the better lounge, I don't think it's sufficiently better to justify getting status for it. And there is the Plaza Premium Lounge next door to the Prime Class Lounge, which I didn't explore and could well be a better lounge. So I think after Frankfurt, it's 2-1 to paid lounges. I've tried 2 paid lounges in Melbourne. I've been in the Centurion Lounge, which is for American Express Platinum card holders, and I've been to the Plaza Lounge. Now, I don't know what I expected from the Centurion Lounge, but I was underwhelmed. It's a nice lounge with a sort of sophisticated look and feel to it, with different seating options and a second seating area at the back of the lounge with individual cubbies if you want a bit of privacy. So far so good, but the food looked like it needed a refresh. In fact, the whole station looked like it needed just wiping down and starting again, and the food I chose reflected this, which was a rather bland curry and a dry and crumbly par-baked roll. The bar wasn't staffed. I imagine I could have got someone to serve me from the front desk if I'd wanted, but it was all just very ordinary, and it just didn't live up to the expectations I had of what a Platinum card Centurion Lounge should be like. The second lounge I tried was the Plaza Lounge, and it was an okay space with sort of standard lounge decor, I suppose. It's quite small though, and it's packed with seating. I felt a bit hemmed in. If 2 people met, they kind of had to make room for each other. So it was sort of shuffly in that way. The food station was almost bare with just dry old food, and there were customers waiting around it, so it was difficult really to get in and film. In the end, I just chose a chicken cacciatore over the mushroom risotto.
But the mushroom risotto was just one big lump, inedible. This rice and chicken doesn't look brilliant, but I won't judge it ahead of time. Let's give it a little go. Chicken and sauce is fine. It's not going to set the world of gastronom alight, but, you know.
It was a poor offering, and I wouldn't pay money to sit in that lounge, especially when you have reasonable food and drink options for purchase upstairs on the main concourse. There are 2 One World Airline lounges in Melbourne, and they're the Qantas Business and Qantas First Class lounges. The Business Lounge is for British Airways Silver status holders or One World Sapphire status holders, and it's large. It's got an open main lounge area, but then it also has smaller areas that provide privacy and sort of quieter areas for you to sit in. There's sweetie jars and snack jars placed around the lounge with additional coffee stations and wine stations too. The main food and drink station was busy the whole time I was there, both with passengers helping themselves, but also with staff working hard to keep it topped up with fresh food and keeping it clean and tidy. There's a good selection of self-pour drinks and a fridge full of beer and another fridge with wine and mixers. And there's cake. The First Class Lounge upstairs is for BA Gold or One World Emerald status holders, and it's so good it deserves its own video. Fortunately, I've made one, and I'll leave a link for you in the description. It's small, but it's very quiet. It's got great views of the airport taxiways and runways, and for me the highlight is the a la carte restaurant, and I've enjoyed 3 courses each time I've visited. Both Qantas lounges are significantly better than the paid options that I've tried in Melbourne, and if you're One World Emerald, then the first lounge is a fabulous experience. It's a definite win for the airline or status lounges over the paid options here. So now it's 2-2 at the full-time whistle. So into extra time, and we'll go to the final airport where I've got a paid and a status lounge to compare, and that's at Heathrow. But I haven't been to any paid lounges in Terminal 5, and seriously, why would you pay for a lounge when you've got a Gordon Ramsay's, a Fortnum Mason and a Caviar House? So I'm going to go over to Terminal 4 where I've experienced one paid and one airline lounge. The paid lounge is the Plaza Premium Lounge, which was busy, so not much filming in there. But it was a nice space. I didn't feel hemmed in, even though it was really busy. I got myself a good English breakfast, no complaints with that, but I was provided with instant coffee. Ugh. This just made it such a subpar experience. And when you compare this experience to the Qatar Status Lounge next door, well, there really is no comparison. A classy, sophisticated space with a wide selection of food and drink options, and Qatar's flights were going out later in the day, so it was really quiet. We just had the run of the lounge to ourselves. And this is not even the Qatar Business Lounge. That's upstairs. This is just their One World Status Lounge. Even if the Plaza Lounge had decent coffee, it would be easily outclassed by Qatar's lounge. According to my final score, airline lounges won in extra time, but in my opinion there wasn't a single paid lounge here that actually beat the airline's own lounge. Just in some cases they were as good as the airline lounge, so you could just pay for them. But how much would you be paying? Well, if you know you're going to visit 10 lounges a year, then a priority pass will cost each lounge visit at about £23 each. Now, a one-off visit is going to be around £44, but if you're only using lounges very occasionally, you're probably not trying to work out if getting airline status is worth it for you. And before I give you my final verdict, there are other things to consider. I've always been able to access the airline's own lounge, but I was turned away from the Aspire Lounge in Edinburgh. I was told I should have booked for an additional £5 cost. And a key benefit to an airport lounge for me is the oasis of calm that they provide away from the rest of the terminal. And this was less evident in the paid lounges I visited. They were generally smaller, busier and noisier than the airline lounge I was comparing it to. And anyone can get into a paid lounge if they're prepared to cough up between £25 and £45, whereas the airline's own lounge requires either a business class ticket or a certain amount of travel to gain entry. Now, I know it sounds snobby, and I can't think of a better way to put this, but there's less riffraff in the airline lounges. I mean, you know, putting to one side all the annoying YouTube vloggers going around filming everything. So I'm going to pick the airline's own lounge over a paid lounge every day of the week and twice on Sundays. But I'm clearly biased, and the final judge, well, that has to be you. So let me know in the comments if you think airline's own lounges or the paid lounges are better, and then we can have a viewer score. And if you have a favourite lounge, either paid or airline, just let me know which it is. The best lounge I've been to is the Concord Room in Heathrow Terminal 5. And if you'd like to see what that's like, well then this should be the next video you watch. So do please give me a like, subscribe to get notifications on future videos, and thank you for watching and joining me on my grey gap year.